Hi, welcome back or welcome to the Cables, Lace, and Tails podcast. My name is Sue, and today I'm going to talk about crochet. Crochet! I learned how to crochet when I was 10 years old from my Crocheting Grandma, and I did it too tight, I did it too loose, off and on throughout the years. Um, she made me this when I was like 4, and it's just a cape. These are where you put your arms through, and I loved this. I was Little Red Riding Hood. I was Laura Ingalls from Little House on the Prairie. I wore it all the time, and I can just see her in all these stitches. Like when I look at these stitches and her work on the buttons and the buttonholes, and I see her. She's on the couch, she's sucking on a butterscotch, and she's crocheting away. Now, I think this is just made out of acrylic yarn. It's from the 1970s. It feels like 1970s yarn, but it was lovely. I remember wearing this as long as I could, and I was so sad that I grew out of it. So, when I learned to crochet, I would pick it up, put it down, pick it up, put it down. Throughout the years, I remember getting back into it as a high schooler. A friend of mine, she is very artistic, extremely artistic. She taught me how to needlepoint. She inspired me to crochet again. I don't remember exactly if I told her I crocheted or what, but yeah, I started crocheting a blanket, and I recently found it. It's in storage and I'm not going to go get it. But I was trying to remember who I crocheted it for, and I remembered. But I never gave it away because I just kept it. So then in my 20s, I didn't really crochet too much, maybe off and on. I didn't know how to read a pattern. But when I turned 30, around that time period, a lot of stuff happened. And I thought to myself, I should crochet again. And I had like one crochet hook. I think it was a G. It was a blue boy crochet hook, not a boy, Boye. And I started crocheting, just practicing. Maybe I made a blanket. I'm not exactly sure. I have a lot of blankets. And then around that time period, my grandma needed to go to the hospital, and or just for a regular checkup, but she needed a ride, and I said I would take her. And I brought she gave me this bag for projects. I know why she gave it to me, because it had a zipper on top and it would snag your project. She didn't like it. But I took it, and I had some scrap yarn and my crochet hook, because I only had one at the time. And I brought it to the appointment, and she said, "Oh, what are you doing?" I said, "Well, I just brought something to do while I wait for you." And she's like, "Oh," she asked me, "Hey, let me see you crochet." And so I showed her, and she said one of the most wonderful things to me. She said, "You hold the yarn well." I was like, "Oh, my expert master crochet grandma thinks I hold the yarn well." It really sparked something in me, and I didn't always work on not like now. I would just pick it up here and there. And then she moved out of her house into an apartment, and she gave me all of her supplies. She wanted me to have them since I was the only grandchild, and one of her, none of her children or her grandchildren, except for me, wanted all of her stuff. And I am so thankful, so thankful. But I still did not know how to read a pattern. And so I made blankets, and I made blankets. I made blankets. I made blankets. I have a blanket on my bed that it would take me a half hour just to do one row. And I actually have it, so the wide way, I have it, how do I put it? I have it, so the wide way is the long way, and then I double it up because it's so long. And I just use like a lot of her skeins. So, and then I had this thought in my mind when I was making, because I knew how to, single crochet. I knew how to double. Um, I didn't realize I knew how to half double. And that's a long story, but I knew triple crochet. I knew the simple stitches, so I could just go wah, wah, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But then I thought, I really want to know how to make a granny square, granny triangle. I would look at stuff. Um, I should have brought it. Maybe I'll show you some other time. But they're in another room. I got these two books. It was called Crochet Projects, or 24-hour crochet projects, 24-hour knitting projects. And I got these books thinking I could learn how to crochet through a pattern. And I read it and I was like, this is a foreign language. I couldn't figure it out at all. But I really wanted to learn. So it doesn't exist anymore. It was called Yellow Dog Knitting. And it was a yarn store in the town next to mine. And they had classes. So I called up and I said, I would like to know how to read a pattern. And so it was the best. I took two different classes. One to learn how to read a pattern, and one to figure out what I was doing wrong on chevron or zigzag blanket. So the best $32 I ever spent. It was $16 per hour. Wonderful. So when I went there to learn a pattern, I got this at Walmart around the same time as I got those other books, and easy to crochet. And so I'll just show you some pictures here. Basically, they give you a picture of each design, and then the number coincides with that design. So she taught me, let's see, I'll find a simple one. She taught me how to read the row. So you would do, let me see, you can't see. So you see the commas? So that is like one stitch or one section. And then sometimes you have parentheses, and they'll say two more times or two times. So that would be if it's two more times, that means 3 times total. And if it said 2 times, then it's 2 times total. So she taught me these little tricks and tips, and I was able to read patterns, and it changed everything for me. I had asked my grandma if she could teach me how to read the patterns, but by that time she had dementia and she couldn't remember. She was an avid crocheter until about the 1990s, and she thought she had carpal tunnel syndrome, which was probably more like tinnitus, but carpal tunnel syndrome was all the rage back then. And they cut right here. And from that moment on, she couldn't hold the crochet hook ever again. In fact, I have in one of the bins, I have of her stuff that still smells like her perfume. Her last attempt at crocheting. It brings sadness to my heart. My cat's over here trying to get stuff. But it also brings me happiness because I got the bug from her, I suppose. That's the only way I can say. So if you had double crochet, it tells you how to do it. So Talulla, no thank you. It says double crochet in the 4th chain from the hook, and each chain across gives you a number, and then the row 2, chain 3 counts as first double crochet here and throughout, and then it just tells you. So I started making different squares, and it's on my daughter's bed right now. So I made her a different square. There's my cat. She will not leave things alone. She's very, very, very interested. I'm gonna put it over here. Hi, Talulla. Anyway, I made, okay, I'm jumping all over. So I learned how to crochet. I learned how to do the chevron stitch. I'm keeping this in because she's a star. She's a star. So I made blankets, a lot of blankets, and then I put it away for a while because I was busy with work and whatever. And then I got pregnant from uh, from I got pregnant with my daughter, and in May of that year, I learned that the restaurant I was working at was closing down, and that July 1st would be our last day. Um, it was extremely sad. I really enjoyed working there, so I started crocheting again when I was at home, massively pregnant, looking for jobs, massively pregnant for unemployment, and I gotta be careful because she loves this. I don't know. Okay, so my grandma had it in this bag. This bag is probably from either the 70s or 80s, maybe 90s. But she started this blanket, who knows when. And it was just made out of old, like leftover skeins. She was probably just, using stuff up. She made a lot of christening outfits for family and friends and people she knew. I'm just going to hold it. And then I'm going to put it away because I came home one day and my cats had taken this out of the bag, and and the yarn was everywhere. It was actually probably a good thing that they disturbed it because I haven't worked on this since 2011. It's like I think my grandma had like maybe this much, like 6 inches or so. And it's a very simple pattern. It's double crochet, and then you have, some fillet stitches. Yes, I know. And so she kept her hook in the bag, and I know where it is. It's a pink F hook. She liked boy, just like me. I'm gonna move this. And I had put it away for 12, 13 years. And I recently found it, and I thought, I'm going to finish it. I'm going to finish this. And she just won't leave it alone. I'm going to finish this and then, give it to my daughter because I was supposed to be making this for her when she was a baby. But, it didn't get done. So then the cats, okay, to fast forward in time, I started working on it again, but I was using the wrong size hook. I was using an E hook, which is a little smaller than the F hook. And crinkle, crinkle. So then I left it out, and my cats, when I came home from work, had it all over the living room. The string was everywhere. No, you need to leave this alone. Please. Thank you. I'm going to put it away. I can't concentrate with her after this anyway. So, pardon the crinkles. I thought they might have forgotten, but obviously they haven't. Okay, put it down here. Anyway, so my grandma started it. I worked on it, put it away, got on to other topics and projects, and I would say about 6 months ago, I found it. Maybe it was last summer. And I'm having a really difficult time because she just will not leave it alone. There we go. So I started using the wrong size crochet hook, and it was starting to, like instead of being straight, it started doing one of those things. Okay. I'm sorry. No, thank you. Hiding it. Oh, I swear. Oh my God, this is going to be a horrible podcast. I am deeply sorry. Okay. I put it in a bin so she can't touch it. So when it was all over the living room floor, I realized, oh, it doesn't look it's too pointy and I gotta tear it all apart anyway. So it was a good thing after all. Now, I had my daughter, and then we moved. And I was a stay-at-home mom for a while. I didn't have a job because the restaurant I worked at closed down. I, you know, you have to look for work when you're pregnant, and I'm going to just tell you, no one's going to hire you. So I stayed home with her. I was very thankful that I was able to do so. It wasn't easy, especially when you're so used to talking to people all the time, and then you are just in a small town that you don't know anybody with a baby. And I was going crazy. She started to calm down. She's off camera just over here. My cat. So I was sitting there and I was like, I gotta do something. I gotta do something. I'm going crazy. There's only so much you can clean. There's only so much you can do. I was trying to figure things out, like what could I do? And I thought to myself, I should reteach myself how to read crochet patterns and then make my daughter a blanket using these patterns. I think I used 12 or 15, something like that. I think it might be 20, 4 across, 5 down. But I just picked ones that I understood, and then I made it. And then I connected them all and gave it to her for her first birthday, and then promptly took it away because she wasn't being very nice to the blanket. And I used all of my grandma's yarn. So I used my grandma's yarn that she had given me, so it had double meaning. Not only am I making it for my child, but my grandma had a hand in it. She picked these colors. So I made that, and then I was like, I want to make more. I want to do more. And so I started making toys. I started making hats. I started making infinity scarves. I started making as much as I could. Now, I don't have all those items handy. I gave a lot as presents. I made crochet food. I did find this. I made this for my daughter. I was trying to make it but I stuffed it weird. But it's kind of like, Smurf house. She picked out the button. It's so cute. And so, with crochet, you can do almost anything. In fact, I made this when she was 3. And I remember because she was sick and taking a nap on the couch. And I was like, oh my God, this is the first time she's been quiet in quite a long time. She was very talkative. I wonder where she got that from. So I just started making things, constantly making things. I could not stop. Once I started, it like satisfied all of my anxieties. It kept my hands busy. It kept me calm. Especially there was one winter, I think she was close to 2. She could run, and it was so bitterly cold for such a long time that I couldn't take her outside to run around because it was just so cold. So I'd make my daughter run in the house. I'd say, go to the front door and come back. And so she would do that, and I would sit in my rocking chair and I would crochet. Well, then she got smart. Even as a little 2-year-old, she was smart as a whip, and she wanted to get into something. And she'd go over to my rocking chair and she'd pat the seat and she'd go, Mama, crochet. Mama, crochet. I'm like, why? She's like, Mama, crochet. Mama, crochet. And I said, oh, all right. So I would sit down and I would work on something. And I'd listen. And she would go into the bedroom on the other side of the wall and she would get into something. And then I would go and find out. She liked to organize her clothes. She'd pull all the clothes, all the freshly washed clothes, back out of all the drawers and put them all on the bed. That was like one of her favorite things to do back then. So I just kept crocheting, and I made I started making shrugs, which is It's a relatively easy thing. You make a rectangle and then you fold it in half and then you sew up the sides. This is from that same book that I showed you. It's just the V-stitch. I'm going to hold it right so you can see. This is out of Caron Simply Soft Yarn. This has come in handy quite a bit. I don't really like shrugs anymore because they always fall off. But if you're going somewhere nice and you just want a little something, but you don't have like the right coat, this is a perfect thing. And then we moved to where I live now, and I worked at this residential living center, and all the old people were like, "Oh, you like to crochet? You should go to the Ben Franklin." And I'm like, "Well, where is it?" And they couldn't tell me what street it was on, and it wasn't. There was no major sign outside saying this is the store. You know, like they didn't have any signage. It was an old store, but it was going out of business. And I finally found it, and I walked in, and they had all this yarn and colors I have never seen. And I was really mad that I hadn't been able to go there before that, but I was able to buy this color. It was called Earth. Called Earth. Now, when I started crocheting again in my early 30s, I had a vision of what granny square blanket I wanted to make. I thought, I know what I want it to look like. But I didn't know how to do granny squares, and I didn't know how to read patterns, and so I kind of just put it off. And then I found this yarn, and I think I only had like maybe 2 skeins of it, the multiple color. This is just a cream. It's Red Heart. And then I thought, oh, I love this yarn. I love this thing. And this is what I'm not going to show you the whole thing because it's pretty impossible. And it's been folded for quite some time. So I made a triangle granny square. And when I made it, I was like, oh, this is what I thought of, 15 years ago. This is what I wanted to make 15 years ago, and now I finally did. It really satisfied. It gave me a lot of pleasure. I just put a nice simple scalloped edge on the end. With crochet, I find that it comes almost natural. I don't know why. It just does. Like I can see what I want to do, and if it's not right, I can just rip it out and fix it. And it just works. I enjoy it so much. I decided I needed some fingerless gloves when I was in my knitting groups, and I just decided I would crochet them instead of knit them. Now these come in handy if my hands get really, really cold and I can't get them warm, and I'm in the house and I want to work on something. I just put these on. Simple little chain. I probably did like 1 round and then, back and forth. And then I connected and I just figured it out. It was so simple. This is just some leftover acrylic I had that I made out of something else. And I think I've mentioned that I have an old whiplash accident that I deal with. And I found this cream yarn, and I had a idea what I was going to do with it. And I started making this blanket, not this blanket, a blanket with this cream yarn. And then it was the mainstays. I was just trying it out. The mainstays from Walmart. It's cheap acrylic. I just thought, I'm just going to try it out. I was on a really tight budget at the time. And in the middle of the skein that I was using, there was, I would say, a few feet of just gnarly, unusable yarn. I snipped it. I went back to the store to get some more of the cream because I had an idea of what I wanted to make. And then they didn't have any. And they haven't gotten it back since. I don't know why. I've asked the workers there. They're not really helpful. So whatever. So I bought this purple instead. I'm just looking. I can't tell which is which anymore. I made this probably 6 years ago. Probably 6 years ago. Maybe 7. And so I did these panels. This is called the aligned shell stitch, one of my favorites. And so I made these panels, and then I connected them with that cream because I just had this much cream left, what you see. And then I started using this as my neck blankets. So I get real cold up here, and if I let my neck get too cold, then it twinges and I end up having a headache. And I started wearing this like over me as I sleep. It's long enough where I can roll. It doesn't like, choke me at all. I've used it since I made it 6 or 7 years ago. And then, this is probably about 4 or 5 years ago. I got this yarn from my mother-in-law for Christmas one year. And she only gave me, I only had 2 skeins. It was a nice present, but I'm like, 2 skeins. What am I going to do with 2 skeins? And it was acrylic, but it was like a brushed acrylic, and it was very, like, what could I put with this to make something? And I really debated. I probably had the yarn for 2 years before I figured it out. And I thought, after a while, I'm like, I'm just going to make another neck blanket, so I have 2. Just a simple pattern, essentially a rectangle. I like this to be right next to skin, and then I put the other one over because the other one's bigger and it can cover my shoulders. So I don't, and since I've been using those, I don't have neck problems anymore because I keep my neck warm and supple. So I just kept making stuff, and then hold on. Walmart, at that time I only shopped at Walmart because I was on a severe budget. Walmart had Lion Brand wool ease in the, I want to say DK weight, maybe sport weight, probably sport weight. And I bought this colorway. It's a poncho. 2 rectangles put together. I didn't buy many crochet books. I bought some, but I didn't buy too many because I just wanted just to do stuff, okay? So obviously I didn't make it long enough on one of them, so I had to add. It's no big deal. This is lovely. I like to wear it. It keeps me warm. I don't wear it very often, but I have worn it. Looks really nice on me. So, simple. I think I used half double crochet or double crochet. It looks like half double. So now I have, back in the yarn groups, I'm going to call her knitting group Anne, because I realized when I was talking about the Anne Bud pattern books and I would say Anne, it got a little confusing. So knitting group Anne gave me what are they called? Gave me some old fashioned Weston Price, Weldon's. Weldon's practical handiwork books. And she didn't want them anymore. They were reproductions from the early 2000s, I think 2000, from Interweave Crafts. Oh, this has been sitting for a really long time. But there is one pattern that I found for insertion lace. Just simple. You make it this way. So this is the bottom, actually. This is where I started. And you just work up. It's actually really nice. I have a lot of this crochet thread I bought at the senior center thrift shop, as well as my grandma's stash. And I thought, well, I'll just start making this. Now, I haven't worked on this for quite some time. And, but my thought was, I can't undo it. It's not working. There. My thought was to have like either a strap for like a nightgown, or to go across like you see, or maybe at the bottom of a skirt, or the top part of the skirt, or part of a shirt. I don't know. I got this far, and then I said, well, what do I want to do with it? And I can't make a decision. I'm being very indecisive. So I just love it. I mean, this, you can just sit there and you can just work. I have a friend sitting really close. You can barely see her. She's right there. But I love those old fashioned books that show what people used to do and how they used to keep themselves warm. I know Retro Claude has shown this, as well as Engineering Knits, how people would use knee warmers, or how would they keep warm, corset cover and stuff like that. You gotta remember, excuse me, back then, there wasn't central heating. What you wore was your central heating. And, there's a lot of opinions about corsets and whatnot, but what they did do was block the wind, if you think about it, because they were so stiff. And then if you wore that over your shift, and then you had your corset, and then you covered the corset, and then you have your outer clothes, and then you have your outer clothes, and then you had your shawls. Well, of course people weren't cold. They were just right. Wearing no synthetics, because there was no such thing. And so I really enjoy looking at those books. And then one day, my cat is actually on it. One day I was perusing Pinterest, as you do, and I saw this. I mean, I've seen this before, probably years and years and years. And I was like, oh, I would love to make that for my cat. Now, I am making this one, but more on this color. And I started it this summer. I'm gonna move you. Get off. I started it this summer, but and it was a lot of fun. And then I put it off to the side because I realized, I'm gonna take these out. I realized that it's too wide. So I'm gonna have, my gauge is off. I'm gonna have to decrease, I think, down two rows at least. I'll double check, but at least 2 rows, and then do this edging thing, and then make this, and then make the bottom, and then sew it up, and then I have enough inserts or foam. Wow, this is really aged. That's interesting. I've had this just off to the side. These foam things were from Walmart. Makes you wonder what there's in there. Oh well. All right. Will the cats destroy it? Probably. Has that been one of the reasons why I haven't really worked on it? Yes. But she maybe when she's a little older, she won't be so naughty. Because I've had cats all my life. And she's the first cat. Look at her. She's so cute. She's the first cat that just won't leave my stuff alone. Other cats are like, well, you're working, I'll sit next to you. Now, at my last podcast, I was talking about sleeping socks. Now, these are an old pair. You can see I've sewed it up because they started wearing out. So there's not really much of a sock look. This is the heel. It doesn't really need to have that because I just put my feet in here, and at night in bed, I wear these only in bed. And then if my foot pulls out for whatever reason, it's not a big deal, loosey-goosey, and it keeps my feet warm. I cannot have tight things around my feet, and my feet get extremely cold due to a frostbite injury that I gave myself because I was a teenager and I didn't listen. So wearing these is like wearing a blanket around my feet that stays on my feet. But these are probably about 5, 6 years old by now, and they are getting quite thin. So I started making myself a new pair. This is just leftover yarn I had from some other project I was doing. And so I mentioned how I probably would have to rip back. Oh, here she comes. And I did. I did have to rip back because I tried them on again. And say this is your, how can I do this? Say this is your foot. I have a large area here, and when things get cut, too tight, it feels like it's cutting off my circulation. That is why I don't really like commercial socks anymore, because it does cut off my circulation. And so I ripped back to here. It was longer. I had done the heel and everything. It feels good on my foot to here, and so I'm just going to have to be mindful of my gauge, and then I will have a new pair of sleeping socks. The purple ones I showed you, they are becoming so thin that they don't keep in the heat like I would like. They're probably going to be more of my, spring. I don't wear them in the summer because, well, it gets too hot, and acrylic holds in heat. Haha. Oh, so what else can I show you? So where did I put that book? Oh, yes. Go ahead. These are just adorable. They give you they tell you how to make the blanket and the pillows. It's lovely. I got this from Annie's Crochet, and I did pay the extra money to have it sent to me in a printed form, not being printable. Like they send you a PDF. I didn't want a PDF. I wanted the printable form. And I think it was like $8, and then I had to pay shipping. Well worth it. Well worth it. So then I have kind of not given up, but I have wanted to knit for so long in my life, and I only learned how to knit when I was 45. And so since I have been knitting more and more and more, I haven't crocheted as much. But I've always I would see I don't know their names, but there was these girls, and I think they were twins, and their mom crocheted. And I'd say, oh, and they wore these little cardigans. And I just was like, that is so awesome. I want to make that. And then recently, I'm going to say within the last year or so, I don't know where I found this book. I don't know who showed me this book. I don't know if I saw it on Instagram, or was it on Facebook, or was it on a YouTube channel, but it was Modern Crochet Sweaters. Now I haven't made anything. As you can see, I have bookmarked some stuff, and gives you some ideas. Some are kind of fancy. I wouldn't really wear the stuff that goes over the shoulder, but I know my daughter wants to. But there's a lot of neat little patterns. I'm just looking here. There's a dress. My daughter wants me to make this one for her. And out of cream. It gives me shivers just to think of making something white, because you have to be so careful. And what if you're drinking coffee and oops? So I don't know. I feel like this is kind of a lackluster thing. I thought my crochet would be a lot bigger. Ooh, I love to crochet. I have used it to help me with anxiety. I started working on those socks, and I'm like, why don't I crochet more? I just like the rhythm of my hook. I usually leave a large tail so I know where I left off. It's very versatile. My cats are really sassy about it. especially with my grandma stuff. Well, this is almost 40 minutes, so it's not that short. So I do continue to crochet. I sleep with one of my grandma's blankets on my bed every night, so she's giving me a hug. You know, she was able to make, like, my cousins. She asked them, like, what do you want me to make you? And they said the Peanuts characters. So she looked at, she looked at Charlie Brown and Snoopy, and she goes, okay. And she made a Charlie Brown and Snoopy. They were massive animals, but she could just do that. She could just look at something and go, all right. And then she would just figure it out. I remember one time, maybe I'll show you the stuff that she would make here and there. But this one time I was sitting at the kitchen table with her, and I had to been at least a late teenager or in my 20s. And she brought out some crochet thread. It was blue. I think I still have it. And she just looked at it, and I'm like, oh, what are you thinking? And she's like, I'm deciding on the pattern I'm going to use. I said, oh, do you need a pattern? And she goes, no, I'm going to make a pineapple. And I'm like, okay. And she just made a doily. And then she finished it really quickly. I mean, she was good. She just did it. And so she showed me the next time I was there, and I was like, that is so beautiful. I mean, I just found such beauty in not only doing crochet, but the finished objects of crochet. So like when you look at something like this, you just see love and happiness. And you figured out whatever was bothering you, or you worked through your stress, or you were able to do a project that you could finish. And I think that is really important, especially in today's day and age. So many things you do that are online, and you don't have that sense of accomplishment of tangible and finishing. So I will probably show more projects throughout the time, because I know I have a lot of her finished objects. When she passed away, we were asked, what would you like? And I said, well, whatever no one else wants, I will take. So I took, like, she made a cape, and I think I was about 8 or 9 when she finished it, and I just was like in awe. And I wasn't very clean because I was a grubby little kid, and I probably had chocolate on my hands. And I was like touching it, and it was cream. And she's like, "Don't touch my breath," because it gave her a lot of problems. My uncle said it was a tough project. So I have that. I'll show it some other time. I wonder if she made it like similar to this. I mean, she used a different stitch. I think she used a fan stitch, and that's why it gave her so much problems, because too loose, too tight. She had to be just right. Man, I loved wearing this when I was a kid. It made me so happy, and I could just feel her like giving me a good hug. I miss her a lot. She would have been 100 years old recently, and she did not live that long. And I think, and this is just me learning things throughout life, that if she hadn't had that carpal tunnel syndrome operation done, she would have lived longer and healthier, because when she gave up crochet, she kind of just, it was gradual at first, but it just kept on going. And one time I visited her at the nursing home, and I brought her some toys that I had made. I think I have given those away, or they were my daughter's. And I showed her what I made. I'm like, Grandma, look what I made. And then she held it in her hands. And now she had dementia pretty well at this time. And she held it in her hand. I'm going to pretend. And she goes, did I make this? And I'll tell you, that was one of the best compliments. That, and you hold the yarn well, that was one of the best compliments I ever received in my entire life. It was like, oh, the master thought I was as good as her. Oh, I miss her so much. When I found the the blanket that she had made, um, I was rearranging stuff, and um, just to smell her perfume, it made me miss her so much. And also, I am very honored to be her caretaker of her projects that she had a lot that she'd never finished, and it is my plan to go back and work on them. I have been focusing more on my own sweaters and other things I have wanted to make. There was a time when I was crocheting a lot, and there was an ad on Craigslist to make scrubbies for gun cleaners. And so I contacted the person, and we met at a public location at a Starbucks in a town halfway in between us. And for, I would say, the next 2 years, 2.5 years, I made crochet scrubbies, which were rectangles. There's some were like 3 inches, some were an eighth of an inch, and I made those per, what do you call them? Like piecework. And I did that a lot, a lot. So I kind of put away all of my projects. And then through things that have happened, um, the company, I don't believe, is any longer. I've looked online recently, and I don't think they exist. There is, I think, there was 2 people, and they split. And I think one person kept the name, and but I looked at their site, and I think they're still selling some of my items, but I don't know. I can tell my work. So after that job ended, I focused on learning how to knit better. And that's why I don't crochet as much. Because I really thought to myself, I'm really burnt out at crocheting. I was so burnt out because, I need 50 and you have to get them out in a few days. You're working a lot. And although I enjoyed it, I enjoyed the money. It was, it was never really that much money overall, but it really came in handy, especially when I needed it. So once it ended, I was so happy, and I bought knitting books, and since I learned how to read patterns in crochet, learning to read patterns in knitting came second nature. So that's why I am focusing on my knitting and not as much crochet, although working on my sleeping sock has sparked me. Maybe I'll finish my little cat couch and then I can show you, because that was a lot of fun. I just put it off to the side because dishcloths, and then cats being naughty, and now I don't even see any of my animals except for one who's sleeping on the other side of the camera. So I think that has been enough rambling for today. I hope you have a wonderful day, and stay warm, stay cool wherever you are. Take care and have fun. If you would like to subscribe, I would really appreciate it. If you would like to hit the like button, I would also appreciate it. But you can also dislike it too. Maybe this isn't your cup of tea. So, anywho, have a good day, take care, and have fun. Bye for now.